just, we all know the day is coming when that deadline is coming, and just maybe how do you approach it with the stress of knowing that changes could be made and things of that nature?
Just listen to James. We talked some yesterday, and he gave me an idea as to what could happen. But that's every trade deadline. So for me, I have to just wait for the call and go from there. So it's, I don't think there's any stress involved in it. There's obviously some idea that your team could change, and you have to, think around that part. But I don't see that part as stressful.
Curious, you have that history with Kevin. I'm just curious how that USA basketball experience with him and maybe what you've taken from him and seeing him in that sense, in that environment.
I mean, Kevin is he's the hardest worker I've been around. Tim, Kevin, Patrick, guys that I've watched over the years, and there's other guys that are right there. But that was the thing that stood out to me. The love for the game, the approach to the game, getting up early, staying late, like all of that stuff, even as a young guy, star, superstar, whatever, he's always had that approach. And my time with him in USA basketball and OKC was consistent in that regard.
Curious, obviously, with when you have guys you develop, and it's like you get to a stage and then they're no longer with you. How do you grasp that when you're thinking about Kelvin Durant?
I mean, there's a human side to all of this that you have to deal with. It was an emotional day. Talking to those guys, and I got to see them before they took off, and it was emotional. So those two are near and dear to my heart. They literally are like my family, and they know how much we care about them. They understand the business side of it, but they also understand that there's a human side, an emotional side, a connection that is greater than the business side. And that part is hard when you have to, say not goodbye, but you have to say see you later, that kind of thing. So that was hard to talk to those guys and then hug them. They got going.
Do you even let your mind go to thinking of Katie in this environment, or do you even, how do you process that knowing you got a game you have to coach as well?
You can do both. I mean, I'm not that dense. Maybe you guys think so.
No, I know. No, I
think in terms of both, we're focused on tonight, and also planning some things for the future. For sure, we're focused on tonight, but I think you can do two things at one time.
But when you're just thinking of that, when you think of Katie with this group, what comes to your mind?
We'll just have to wait and see.
Monty, to the point about the human element, you guys are all human. We've listened to what's going on all day and the speculation. How do you keep everybody's focus on what's going on now, tonight, instead of what may happen down the line here?
I think if you sit up here in front like you can do that, you're probably lying to yourself and to you all. I don't think you can do that. That's the human side of it. I think everybody's somewhat scattered every game. That doesn't mean you're not ready to play. We always have, at times, situations in our lives when we play games without the trade stuff. So I think that's something, if you're going to be able to have success in this league, you have to be able to do both. So for me to sit here and say I got to, corral everybody's thoughts onto this game tonight, that's just not realistic. I don't think we do that anyway. I think it's allowing people to process their own personal stuff, and then when it's time to play, we lock in, and that's how I've learned to have any success in this league is to allow people to have their lives, have their thoughts. They're all valid. And then when it's time to go, we lock in.
You've been around the guys all day. How would you describe the emotion of the group right now?
You have to talk to those guys. I don't want to take those liberties and talk about that. It's a close group, so you can imagine, you know, that's a tough blow for the group from a human side of it, but it's also exciting when you look at, you know, what could be. And I think guys balance it differently just based on their relationship with Cam and McHale, but at the same time, all of our guys understand, you know, who Kevin is, what TJ brings to the table, and they respect that. So I think there's a bit of a balance in that.
Monty, when you don't have training camp, the advantage of training camp is the process coming in the middle of the season made a little bit smooth by the fact you have Chris Paul and with Devin Booker, those veterans who've been around.
Probably. I mean, talking about two veteran guys at the top of their game. Most of what we do is based on what those two guys can do, and so it makes it easier to, especially from the offensive side of it, to fit someone in like Kevin. I mean, Kevin can play with anybody, Will can play with anybody, and Chris can play with anybody. So from that standpoint, I think it can be easier, but not easy, if that makes sense, because you have other guys around them that have to fit, and we have to figure out rotations and staggering lineups and all that stuff. So that'll be, I think, a transition for the staff, not so much the players, to figure out what groups work with what and how to close quarters and look at the history of different guys' rotations and try to mesh them well. That's the one thing we have to do now, is look at Kevin's rotation, you know, over the course of his career, and see which one best fits how we play, booking Chris and DA.
Coach, did you even have the time to talk with TJ when you took him?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did talk to him. I talked to everybody just about during that time, because I had no idea what the team would look like. And I had a conversation with him, and then we traded him. So I looked goofy doing that, but I always look goofy, so it was par for the course. But for me, it was just getting to know him and understanding who he was before we even touched the floor, and then, you know, we traded him. So it's just how I do things when we, you know, bring a player in or I get a new job.
Coach, of course, everything is still very new, but have you had an opportunity yet to speak to KD? And what has your message been to the team over the last couple hours?
I haven't talked to Kevin, and we're, you know, focused on tonight. As I've already said, we're balancing natural emotions. I'm sure I'll spend a lot of time with Kevin and have a chance to talk to the team about all kinds of stuff.
Do you have any kind of timetable on when he'll get with the team? No.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that.